Ever since the dawn of humankind, we've sought the origins of our life and its purpose. Some have chosen to look to science, religion, or philosophy for answers. Many have turned to the great masters such as Lao-tzu, the Buddha, and Jesus Christ for spiritual illumination. Still others have sought truth through their own direct experience. All of us are searching, knowingly or unknowingly, for enlightenment, truth, and harmony in our lives. This program, hosted by Dr. Gregory Penn, will help you aspire to a more fulfilling and rewarding life.
Every day we take a step, we understand. The closer that we get, we'll find in who we are. We choose between the left and right, the ups and downs, the darkness or the light. We'll find in who we are. There's so many roads.
Good morning and welcome to Aspire. We're going to be working on the three types of students who study the Tao. And remember that the Tao is life, not a philosophy, not a religion, it is life. They are the wise, the mediocre, and the foolish. And we'll be looking at them from a deeply significant point of view, our spiritual side. In the second half of Aspire, Phil Smith is going to be with us. He works with dreams and helping us understand that dreams are messages being sent to us from within ourselves to help us in our life and to understand the way of our life. So come spend a half hour of aspiring to your heart with us.
We're wrong dancers. Aspire. Just believe we can be everything.
We're going to be working on the Tao, a Tao that most people in the Western world do not understand. They think of it in terms of being a religion or a physical philosophy, some sort of made-up theory, but it's really not. There's no such thing as a Taoist. There's no such thing as a Taoist religion. There is really no such thing as a Christian either. Jesus didn't want to have religions follow him, nor did Buddha want to have anyone follow him in the form of Buddhism. Religions are created by humanity. They have nothing to do with the originator of it. We make that happen. If we were to really follow Christianity, the Christ that Jesus was teaching, we would find the Tao. If we were to follow the teachings of Buddha, we would find the Tao, because the Tao is life. It's another word for life itself. The problem with so many of us is that we don't take the time for this. We take the time to live our life, but we don't take the time to understand it. I think there is a certain kind of person that comes to the Tao. It's a person who has done the religious routine and the social routine and the physical routine. They've done that. And they've gone through their life and they've tried to find answers here and there and in books and in people. And finally they begin to become almost cynical. They become almost an atheist, maybe. And it's at that particular point that they become most vulnerable to life. That's when life can have its deepest impression on us. And that's when a person comes to the Tao. There are three types of people that listen to the Tao. I want to share this with you. I couldn't resist doing this on TV because I thought it was so apropos for the things that we are studying here at the center and working on within ourselves. Lao-tzu is the one who is credited for doing the Tao. He's a very humble man, and he talks about it in this way. The wise student hears of the Tao and practices it diligently. The average student hears of the Tao and gives it thought now and again. The foolish student hears of the Tao and laughs out loud. If there were no laughter, the Tao would not be what it is. It's a perfect teaching. Let's look at this. The diligent student, the wise student, practices the Tao. What does the wise student do that we don't do? The wise student practices every single moment of his life. He does not look at this moment is for religion and this moment is for work and this moment is to be a husband or a wife. This moment is to be something else. He sees his whole life as the Tao, going inside and outside of it. This is a person who does not let his mind be the barrier between himself and his world, but his mind does not think thoughts that this is good and this is bad, this is right, this is wrong. This is a person, the wise student, sees life just as it is, without the need to correct it, to manipulate it, or to make it better or worse. This is the person who sees life, sees God in everything as God is, not for what we have been taught it to be. The wise student is a difficult student. This is a student who must stay on the path every single moment. That doesn't happen because of a mental conditioning. It happens because that particular student sees no other way except the way of love, the way of compassion. The average student. I think that most people start out with this attitude of being the average student. Talk about it. This is the one who thinks of it now and again, but never takes it too seriously. How many times do we think about the work only when we have a hurt or a pain in our life? I heard a minister say once, when was the last time that you thanked God for your day? Only when it was a good day and not one of your bad days. The average student thinks about God or thinks about the work only when he has a problem or she has a problem, not as a consistent effort. We just do it when we feel like we have a need for it. Other than that, we drop it. The average student is kind of interested in getting what he or she wants and not understanding the way of life. I have one little quirk about metaphysical students, and that is this. I find a lot of them only are interested in metaphysics because it gets them what they want. It justifies their need and their ego to get it. If a student feels like he wants more money, he will listen to only the prosperity end of metaphysics. If a person wants to be loved, they will only listen to the end that they think draws another person to them. They're not involved in the work for spiritual transformation reasons. They're just there to get what they want. And the average student just thinks of it now and again. When I have a problem, I'll use it. When I don't, and things are the way I want them to be, I chuck it. I don't think about it. I don't work with it. I mean, really. When's the last time you meditated when you didn't need to? It's only when you and I really have a problem we think, okay, I got to settle down, I've got to discipline myself, I've got to practice the way. That's the average student. We think of it now and again, and we are always caught up in our mind, always caught up in it. If you wish to release that, do this. Understand how far your senses have taken you and your intellect. They don't take you very far. How far can you go living by your senses, by your five senses? How much food can you eat? People are trying to find that out, I think. How much can you drink? How much can you put on? How much can you buy? How much sex can you have before you blow your mind, before you've had every physical pleasure in the world, every physical pleasure, and you still feel empty? The question then arises, what am I doing to my body, my life, and my affairs? What's going on? See that. See how far your intellect can take you. Then you will see the urgency to become the wise student. And then there is the foolish student. Most people who hear the Tao that I've talked to, and let's talk, the most religious people I've seen and the most metaphysical people I know who are geared in metaphysics hear of the Tao and laugh or mock it. And I love what lao-tzu says here. He says, if they didn't laugh, if they didn't mock it, it couldn't be the Tao. Many people mocked Jesus and thought he was crazy for doing what he did. Even his own disciples didn't understand it. Jesus gave us a great teaching. He said, understand the manner of your spirit. We need to understand the manner of our spirit. It is unconditional. It is absolutely unconditional. And when we have a deep appreciation for being unconditional, we are no longer the foolish student anymore, laughing at truths that our mind cannot comprehend and living from senses that cannot bring us fulfillment or joy, inspiration. We become the first student. The first student is the most unique. This is the one who has the courage to sit in his silence when he feels so upset, confused, or bewildered. The first student is the wise one, the one that moves not from his head out into the world, but from his heart into life. You will decide which student you will be. It's not a sin to be any of them, but the greatest one remains the wise student. Welcome back to Aspire. Meditation, a very important thing that all of us seek to practice or should be practicing for the simple sake of our own enlightenment or our effort towards it. And it's a funny thing, as simple as meditation is, it's often one of the most difficult things that we do. My guest is Phil Smith. He's been with us before. He's our counselor working with dreams, and we've been talking a little bit about meditation. Phil, in one of your tapes, and one of the ones that I've recently heard you talk about the necessity for meditation, and why should we meditate? You know, a lot of religious people think that meditation is different from prayer and that prayer is more sanctimonious, etc., etc. Tell us a little bit about meditation, its necessity.
For me, it's the process of waking up. Mm-hmm. It really is the source of wakefulness. I always have a joke in working with dreams that once every 24 hours I get wise. I fall asleep, and my ego is not in control.
Right.
And meditation allows that same, it allows an ability to focus and to be present with absolute honesty and increasing depth of compassion while you're awake to everything that you are.
Compassion, talk about that. Tell me a little bit more about this. You can't teach someone to be compassionate. Tell me about it. What happens?
I think that it's when sadness and laughter become healing. Mm-hmm. And sadness, when it's not bitter, when it is true compassion, when we cry, it's a crying with love. A crying with acknowledging the part of us that is in pain, as you would hold a little child that's in pain. Mm-hmm. And meditation there is a part of meditation that allows whatever is in you to emerge instead of trying to do away with the ego, To me, deep meditation is the ultimate in allowing, without greed, without holding on to anything. And you learn to allow the wandering child, the frightened child, the lonely child, the angry child. And as they emerge, you go, shh, I love you. And it emerges. And then as you love it and hold it, that disappears. And then the child who's greedy for this or that. And so a part of meditation is a well of pure silence. Another part of it is the allowing for what most deep in you needs to be confronted to come up without judgment. So it's a practice. I use the Vipassana, the Buddhist, which is called the joyous meditation. Mm-hmm. And the irony is that the more deeply you can experience compassion and sorrow for the parts of you that are in pain, the ultimate thing that comes out of the meditation is an incredible gentleness and joy toward your life. And you don't take the ego seriously, but you have a more profound respect for your spirit and your soul.
And that is the most important thing that we achieve, is a profound respect for our spirit, our soul, our sense of self, which is really very important. I think you've given our viewers, and I know you've given me a lot, the opportunity for spiritual transformation by being gentle with yourself. You're quite a therapist, and I appreciate that. You're a very unusual one who works with the totality of a person and not just a small segment. Thanks for being with us. Thank you, Phil.
You.
Westerners have a very difficult time with the Tao, with the whole concept of the Tao, because so much of our religion is to go out there and get and have and to be desirous and try to make things happen. People taking affirmations, I'm rich, I'm powerful, I'm all of this. And the Tao is saying something quite different. It's saying that the least thing that we think is important is the most important, and the most important is the least in our mind. So we're kind of off balance with that. Isn't it interesting that the most difficult thing in life to be is simple? The most difficult thing in life for us to be is ourselves, to be kind, to be our truest nature. That's the most difficult, to be in harmony with life. And yet it seems so easy to be in opposition to life, to try to push it because we're used to muscling life rather than loving life. It's very fascinating to me. Bernadette, you had a question.
Yes, Greg, you say we live our life backwards, that what we should do first we put last and what last we put first. What do you mean by that?
Our priorities are basically mixed up. What would be the first thing in most people's lives? It'd have to be something in the physical. They might say, it's my family, it's my job, it's my children. It's always something in the physical. Always. It's something that we have. I've been listening to the radio lately, and there have been these commercials about home security systems, and they go through this little scenario about what a terrible thing happens to you if your home has been burglarized. What can they take? What is in your home that is so important that you couldn't live without? The most important thing in your life is not something that you keep at home, it's something you keep within yourself. Jesus put it so well. He said, you take what should be first and you put it last. What should be first in our life? It's nothing in the physical. It's not who we love or what we love. It's so intangible. It's a gentle thing. If I give you the answer, if I say it to you, immediately it's misunderstood and put into dogma. But let me just say it to you, that it may fall on some fertile hearts here. The most important thing in your life is your spiritual self, the part of you which is eternal, not the part of you that is momentary. We take the spiritual part and we say, well, on Sunday morning, if I feel like it, if there's not a football game, and if there's nothing better to do, I'll go to church. I'll learn. It doesn't matter what church you go to. If I have time. The last thing on our mind is that. How about in a confrontation when you're at work and you're having problems with people? The first thing on your mind is, how do I prove I'm right? How do I win this? How do I get even? That's the first thing on our minds. Always to gain, to dominate, to manipulate. The last thing on our mind is, what's really going on here? I'm really dealing with a lot more things than just this person who disagrees with me and this condition that's hurting me. The only thing we want to do is get away from those things. If we put what should be first in our life first, that would be that we would look at things the way they are. Jesus said to us that the path to the kingdom of heaven within was straight and narrow. There was no right or left to it. It was straight and narrow, and you and I had to walk it. And He gave it to us. He said that we would have to learn to love God with all of our mind, with all of our heart, with all of our soul, and all of our strength. You would have time for nothing else if that's what you practiced. And that's what is meant by putting what should be first in your life. Then the Tao becomes clear, because the Tao is not religion. The Tao is life. We don't know life the way we are. How could we know life? We're opposed to it. We fight it. We're trying to get things out of it when it's only trying to give to us. But we keep saying, that's not what I want. Life gives to us who we are, not necessarily what we want. And so when people hear that, they go, I have to change who I am. No, you don't need to change who you are. You need to be who you really are. That's the Tao. Nothing is needed to be changed. Just be you. God, life loves you. I find it interesting. I was thinking about this a lot lately, retrospect to my life and other people's lives, and my counselees saying, about their life, how they've lived it. It's been painful. And everybody feels like they've blown their life, that they've done bad things. And I don't find anybody who's done anything so terrible. But they all say the same thing, that I have blown my life, I'm missing my life. Be aware of that. The only way you would miss it is if you put what should be first last in your life. Put your heart first. Put your intellect last. Put your concentration on your heart first. Your intellectual opinions last. Let the first response always be that of love, and the last response always be that of hatred. Put what should be first in your life first, and what is last. That's very important. Another question?
This talking about the Tao and the Zen and what have you, it's also new, but I wanted to ask you, if we were talking about the Tao and this is supposed to be taking place in the moment, what would you say to me if I was to say, well, what is in this moment that you could tell me would be most descriptive of this Tao?
Your breathing. Because everything in your life revolves around your breathing. The universe revolves around your breathing. You and I could learn the secrets to our life if we concentrated on our breath. We breathe in and we breathe out. That simple thing tells us about how the universe works. Zen is a method, it is not a religion. The Tao is a discovery, it is not a religion. Just like the Christ is a discovery and not a religion. I would say to you, watch your breathing. Watch how your lungs take in air, and notice how the air does not resist being taken in. Notice how your lungs exhale the carbon monoxide and lets go of the impurities. And notice how your lungs don't fight that, and how the air does not reject that. Notice that there is a give and take to life that goes beyond what you and I think is fair and just. If I were to give you money and I would say, here is $1,000, now what are you going to give me back? And you would say, I'd have nothing to give you back. I'd be a fool to take it back from you. That's the way we would live our life. But life doesn't say that. Life says, I will give you everything. You give me everything. Flow in the yin and the yang of life. So watch your breathing. Everything's there. It's fair, too. It's so loving. It goes in and it goes out in equal proportions. You don't see your lungs saying, well, we'll take in a little more than we give out this time. They naturally yield the nature of themselves. The most important thing to do in life is to breathe. The Tao, again, it is not a religion. It is a method. It is an essence. And someday it will dawn on us when we have let go of our religious prejudices and our religious fears that we hold, and our religious shortcomings, and our intellect, and we let go and we go, now is the time for me to be one with the Tao. Namaste. I hoped you enjoyed this program on the Tao. I love the teachings of it. They're so powerful. The wise person, the wise scholar hears of the Tao and practices it ardently. The mediocre scholar hears of the Tao and thinks of it rarely. The worthless student hears of the Tao and laughs at it boisterously. If such did not laugh, it would not be the Tao. Wise teachings from the Tao. I'm sure that there are many people who listen to the teachings that we offer on Aspire and laugh at them and think they're ridiculous. People laughed at the great masters, all of them, and their teachings in the beginning. They laughed at Socrates. They laughed at Buddha. They laugh at Jesus, some even today, and the Tao. And I'm sure that there are many people who think of these teachings now and again when they have a problem or maybe things aren't going well. And I'm sure that there are many of you who are the wise student, who practice these teachings ardently as a discipline. The Tao is a way of life, and it must have our full devotion and our full involvement, and that's the key to our lesson today. The involvement. You can't be just involved in these teachings on Sunday morning. They have to become a way of life, a unity, a harmony of life. This week, make an effort to make the teachings of the Tao, the teachings of life, and the harmony of your heart a way of living, that you may find life a more courageous, a more powerful experience. We are so grateful to be a part of your life.
We choose between the left and right, the ups and downs, the darkness